The television has been on since 6 this morning. I'm not watching it. I just don't like the way the house sounds without it. That's something I never thought I'd say. I spent most of my life wanting quiet. Quiet to grade papers, quiet to think, quiet after a long day in the classroom. Maggie used to put the radio on in the kitchen, and I'd ask her to turn it down. Now I leave the television running in an empty room just so there's something that sounds like another person. I don't think I understood when I was younger that quiet could become a weight. I've lived in this house since 1974, 50 years in the same rooms. The kitchen still has the same window Maggie used to stand at in the mornings, watching the yard, watching the bird feeder she put up sometime in the 90s. I keep the feeder filled. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because she would have. Most mornings I sit at the kitchen table with my coffee and I don't do much of anything. I look at the yard. I listen to the house settle. There's a photograph on the windowsill, Maggie and me at the lake, 1981 or maybe 1982. Daniel's in it too, small, squinting into the sun. I walk past that photograph a dozen times a day, and sometimes I stop and look at it, and sometimes I don't. I've been thinking lately about how I got here, not in a dramatic way, just sitting with it, trying to understand when the rooms got so empty, because it wasn't sudden. That's what I keep coming back to. It wasn't one thing that happened. It was a long accumulation of small choices that I didn't recognize as choices at the time. I was a history teacher for 38 years. I believed in causes and consequences. I could trace the collapse of entire civilizations through a series of decisions that seemed reasonable at the time. I did this for decades, explaining it to teenagers, and I never once applied it to my own life. The loneliness I live with now, I built it, slowly, without noticing. I wasn't a cold man. I want to say that clearly. I loved Maggie, I loved Daniel and Claire. I felt those things genuinely, but feeling something and expressing it and showing up for it consistently, those are different things, and I confused them for most of my life. There was a period in the mid-80s when I was department chair at the school and driving Daniel to practice twice a week and helping Claire with a science project, and Maggie was working part-time at the library, and the house was full and loud and busy. I remember thinking, this is a lot. I remember looking forward to when it would slow down. It did slow down eventually, but by then the habits were set. The distance between me and each of them had become normal, comfortable even. We had all adjusted to a version of family life where everyone was present and no one was fully reached. Daniel moved to Portland in 1994. He called that first year more than he has since. I think he expected something from me that I didn't know how to give. Some acknowledgement that I missed him, that the house felt different. I felt those things. I didn't say them. I asked about his job, his apartment, whether he was saving money. After a while the calls got shorter, and then they settled into what they are now. Sundays, 11 minutes, polite. He has his own family. Owen is 11 now. Lily is 14. I see them at Christmas. Owen talks to me about things I don't entirely follow, and I listen and nod, and it's not nothing, but I am more of a photograph to those children than I am a person, a face they recognize, not someone they know. Claire is closer in miles and in other ways. She comes twice a month now since Maggie passed. She sits in this kitchen and tells me about her life, and I ask questions and try not to evaluate any of it. We've gotten better, Claire and I, in these last few years. It took Maggie dying for us to figure out how to talk to each other without her in the room. I think about that sometimes. What it cost us to learn something we should have known for decades. Maggie died 6 years ago, March, a Thursday. She'd been ill for a while, heart mostly, and I was there when it happened. I was holding her hand. I had been present, genuinely present for those last 2 years in a way I hadn't managed for most of the years before them. I don't know what to do with that. The fact that I finally learned how to be there, just in time to watch her go. After she died, the house stayed exactly the same and became completely unrecognizable. Same furniture, same windows, same bird feeder, but the whole shape of the day collapsed. I hadn't understood how much of my daily life had been organized around her, not in romantic terms, just in practical ones. When to eat, when to sleep, what to do with a quiet evening. Without her those things had no structure, and I floated through the days for a long time before I found any kind of rhythm. Ruth from next door checks on me, brings food sometimes. She lost her husband a few years back, and we sit on the porch occasionally and don't talk about much. She's good company, the quiet kind, which suits me, but mostly it's just me and this house. I look back now and I can see it clearly, the way you can see a road clearly once you're past the curve. All those years I thought I was present, coaching, providing, correcting, attending. I was in the rooms, I was not always reachable inside them, and the people I loved, they felt that. They adjusted to it. They found what they needed elsewhere and stopped looking for it in me. Not out of anger. That's the thing. Nobody left in anger. They just accommodated, learned the shape of me, and worked around the parts that weren't available. And I let them because I didn't notice it happening, and then I noticed but didn't know how to change it. And then it had been so long that changing it felt like it would require an explanation I didn't know how to give, so I didn't give it. And the years went on. I'm 84 now. My memory for recent things is getting soft around the edges. I forget words sometimes, forget what I went into a room for. But the old memories are sharp, sharper than they should be. That lake photograph, Maggie at the kitchen window, Daniel, sitting on the edge of my desk, 15 years old, just wanting to be near someone, and me telling him I had papers to grade. Those things are very clear. I don't say this to make you feel heavy. Or maybe I do, a little. Maybe I think some things should be felt before they're too late to change. You probably have people around you right now who are quietly adjusting to your absence, not leaving, just making do, learning to need you a little less each year, because needing someone who isn't fully there is its own kind of loneliness. It happens slowly. That's all I know to say about it. So slowly you don't feel it happening until you're sitting alone in a kitchen with the television on in the other room, and you realize the quiet found you anyway, no matter how busy you stayed. The bird just came back to the feeder, cardinal, red against the grey morning. I wrote it down in the notebook the way Maggie used to. It's something, I suppose,